Saturday on CBS Sports.
Still to come, more track and field from the Meadowlands, including Mary Slaney in the 1,500 meters and Eamon Coughlin in the men's mile. My colleague, good friend John Madden, has recently picked his all-Madden football team. Now he's been scouting the golf courses. John has found a tour player with whom he can readily identify, Craig Stadler, and it's not hard to understand why.
You know, February is kind of a funny month in sports. There's really not a lot going on. Football's over. No more ball games. The Super Bowl's history. Baseball hasn't started yet. Hockey and basketball, they're kind of jockeying for position for the playoffs. So I didn't have anything to do, so I drove down to Monterey to take a look at the Bing Crosby Pro-Am. You say, now what's a guy like you doing at a golf tournament? I've always pictured those guys as nice, skinny guys, look good, clean, no mud, no dirt, no emotion, hit the ball, just walk to the next shot. But I came down here and I found a guy who's a little different. His name is Craig Stadler, and he's a little bit different than the rest of the golfers on the tour. He's emotional, and he shows it. You know, I kind of like that. A guy who gets excited about his job. Stadler is a very good golfer, but people don't remember that. When you think of Craig Stadler, all most people think about is the weight, the mustache, and most of all, that temper.
A lot's been written, a lot's been said about my emotional status, I guess, or whatever, my temper, whatever you might call it, but you know, it's something that I need. I need a little fire burn inside of me, a little aggressiveness to keep myself going. If I make a bad shot, I get upset with myself, and you know, it's probably just because I strive for a little more perfection than maybe somebody else.
I don't think Craig really is a club thrower. I think he beats his club in the ground. We all beat our clubs in the ground sometimes. He may just beat it a little harder than others.
Golf's always been a gentleman's game, played in a civilized manner by people like Nicklaus and Tom Watson. Stadler plays in a very different way. He gets excited about a good shot and upset over a bad shot. And it's these outward displays of emotion that make Stadler unique on the golf tour. But heck, he's been that way for a long time.
Craig is just his own man. You know, he's been his own man for a long time. He's always had his own style. Even in college, he used to wear desert boots to golf tournaments.
Even back then, Stadler was a little flaky. He went to USC, which is more famous for its football players than its golfers. You know, maybe that's his problem. He should have been in a football uniform instead of those checkered pants. He's always marched to his own drummer. In fact, he almost missed an important match in college.
He was paying a utility bill before they turned off the power at his place, and we had a match with UCLA, so he came vaulting over a hedge in his desert boots, no shoes. I thought he was going to break a leg. And he got up there about 10 seconds before we teed off, and he shot a 68, and he was low man, and we won the match.
Stadler joined the tour in 1976, and let's face it, he's the kind of guy who's going to stand out, especially on a golf course. Now, fans all over the country had no problem recognizing him, the walrus, the golfer with a linebacker's body, but living in a kicker's world.
My physical appearance has always been different than most of the guys. There's not too many big guys out there. And whether it's good or bad, it just comes down to the same old thing. Hey, it's the way I am. It's the way I'll probably always be.
But Stadler doesn't have to be. In fact, the tour came up with an exercise program for its golfers. It was a great opportunity for Stadler to shed that image along with a few extra pounds so he could look like a golfer. They have a new exercise program here on the tour. Are you a part of that?
I haven't been. I don't know much about it. I'm a part of it about as much as you'd be, I guess. I'll sit back and drink a beer and watch them work out.
Truthfully, he has lost a few pounds, but Stadler's image remains the same. He's still the big guy who never seems to smile while he's playing. He's definitely in the wrong sport. Heck, he should be hitting people, not a little white ball. He stands out because nowadays, it seems like all those golfers look like each other. They're faceless guys who go out, shoot 68, go home and come back and do it again the next day. The trouble is, you can't tell the Fred Couples from the John Cooks, but you can always find Stadler out there.
Some of us are going to look different than others. If I'm fortunate or unfortunate, I'm one of the ones that looks a little different. I'm not going to go out and lose 40 pounds and get 150 and cut my mustache and clean shaven to please somebody. It's not the way I am. It's not the way I'll ever be.
The public rarely sees the other side of Stadler. All they see is a man in a golf course, intensely competitive. And he's not really the Madison Avenue type either.
Who's going to clean up on tour?
Me, and pros.
You know, it seems like every golfer has a commercial. Must be written in the rule book. If you're a professional golfer, you got to have a commercial, but not Stadler. In 1982, he was the leading money winner in the tour. He won the Masters. Now, heck, that should have landed him something, but nobody ever talks about the win at Augusta. They just kid him about the green jacket. What size was it, they ask, about a 50? A jacket that size makes a guy like me proud. A big guy, emotional, my kind of golfer. You know, if he doesn't make it to the Hall of Fame for his golfing ability, he's got a shot for his club throwing ability. I like that.
I can throw a club lots of different ways. I don't throw them, though. I toss them. Just kind of nice flop onto the bag. Everybody thinks I'm throwing them, though. That's the one misconception.
I mean, can you throw and bounce them back and catch them?
No, I'm not that good.
The best toss is when he's kind of halfway down in his downswing, and he knows the shot's going to go a little goofy. As soon as he makes impact with it, the left hand lets go, the right hand goes like this, follows through, and he usually bounces it off the bag, and then it lands on the bag, it takes a lot of work out here to develop that kind of toss.
The one thing that you have to contribute to Craig Stadler is that when he throws his club, he always throws it in the direction the ball is going. That way he doesn't have to walk backwards to get it, and that takes a lot of class to do that.
So the next time you see Stadler out there throwing a club or looking mean, remember, he's really a good guy. Just ask his wife.
I'm like his sole defender in the gallery. I've been known to tell a few people that, they'll be making a comment about Craig and his temper and being overweight and being a jerk and whatnot, and I just usually tell them I wouldn't have married a jerk.
That had a temper that was overweight.
Might be a little chubby, but not really overweight.
You know, if I could name an all-Madden team for golf, Craig Stadler would be the captain.
The only reason I play is to play to win. I've done it all my life. I really haven't got into much else, but I enjoy the competition. I love playing good, and I hate playing bad, just like anybody else.
Actually, he is a very nice guy. You know, I've been doing golf and playing golf for a long time. And I think the best club throwing incident I've ever seen was also at the Crosby a few years ago when the actor Basil Rathbone put 3 balls in the water at the 17th hole, the par 3. He told his caddy to bring the clubs. He went and sat down on the rocks right next to the Pacific Ocean. He took the clubs one by one and fired them into the Pacific. Then he took the bag and put it over his head and fired it into the Pacific. He took off his both shoes and threw them as far as they would go out into the ocean, and he walked to the clubhouse. That was the end of golf for Sherlock Holmes. Next up, we'll have the Mary Slaney story as our coverage of the U.S. Olympic Invitational Track and Field Meet continues on Sports Sunday after this.
Each member of the U.S. ski team has their own individual way of going down the mountain. And while they may not agree on what equipment should get them to the bottom, they do agree on what equipment should get them to the top. Subaru, official car of the U.S. ski team since 1976.
Chocolate is scrumptious when it crunches. That's why I love Nestle Crunch Milk Chocolate. That's creamy, blending crispy, ooh, so dreamy. Gotta have it, it's so scrumptious. Love that chocolate when it crunches. Crunches, woo! Chocolate is scrumptious when it crunches. That's why I love Nestle Crunch.
They're gonna love you. May I help you?
I doubt it.
He's looking for a personal computer.
Must run all the top software.
Sure.
Easy to use, easy to add on.
Of course.
Great graphics, a good keyboard.
Oh, yes.
And a good price.
Finished?
I'd be very surprised if you had one like that.
Ta-da! The NCR PC4.
Does all that?
Surprised?
No. NCR's been in computers for 30 years.
I know that. I just thought you'd be surprised.
I'll take 12.
12?
Surprised?
Yes.
A better computer. It's exactly what you'd expect from NCR.
Hometown hero Bill Costello defends his crown against Leroy Haley. Plus a John Madden feature on Ray Mancini, World Cup skiing, and more next weekend on CBS Sports Saturday.
Welcome back to the
Vitalis Olympic Invitational track meet. You're looking at Mary Slaney sitting on the infield, warming up for her 1500, watching a race indoors that she could not finish at the Olympic Games at 3,000 meters for women. About 2.5 laps to go, and the race has come down to a foot race between Maricica Puica, the Olympic champion in blonde hair there, the Romanian, and Ruth Wysocki.
You know, Ruth Wysocki upset Mary Decker at the Olympic trial, 1,500 meters. She didn't have a great Olympic success, but she's running the race of her life at 3,000 here. They're both close to Mary Decker's indoor world record for 3,000.
You'll remember Maricica Puica, the Romanian, who went on to win the 3,000 gold in L.A. after Zola Budd and Mary Decker had that infamous collision, and Decker could not finish.
Earlier in this race, she was way ahead of Ruth Wysocki. Wysocki closed the distance, took the lead with about 6 laps to go, and now she's holding on as they come up to a lap to go.
There it is, the bell lap, and now the crowd here at the Meadowlands is on their feet because they sense a chance for the American Ruth Wysocki to beat the Olympic champion, the Romanian.
Here comes Puica. She outkicked Wysocki in a mile last week in Dallas.
The last turn into the finish line, and now Wysocki, 5'9" tall, is starting to use that long stride.
What an upset for Wysocki.
Puica will not be able to catch her.
Being the gold medal winner. Oh, that's a great run for Ruth Wysocki.
The American flag in evidence here as Ruth Wysocki, the winner of the women's 3,000 meter here at the Meadowlands. A great race for her.
You know, she was a national champion way back in 1978. Had terrible injuries after that. Now she's running the 3,000 meters close to the world record pace. You see her, this is where she passed Puica with 6 laps to go. She's been maybe 15, 20 yards behind her up to this point. She passed her, started pushing the pace, and then was able to hold on at the end.
The official results, and now Ruth is with our John Dockery.
Ruth, a fabulous race. Did you surprise yourself a little bit?
A little bit. You know, I thought that we could get under that world record, actually, but my best is 9:04. So I was a little concerned, and when Puica went early, I figured she's really going. And what surprised me is when I passed her the first time, last week in Dallas, she kicked by me like I was standing still, so I was kind of waiting for her the whole way.
But you held her up, and the crowd was with you. You were the sweetheart tonight.
That's nice.
Congratulations.
So the American Ruth Wysocki kicks out ahead of the Olympic champion, the Romanian Puica. Now, Mary Decker, now Mary Slaney on the infield, warming up for her 1,500, a race in which she has predicted a world record. Mary Decker entered 1984 as America's track and field cover girl. With gold medals in the 1,500 and 3,000 at the 1983 World Championships, Decker was ahead of the field and was a sure bet for her first Olympic gold in 1984 in L.A.
There's another Olympics in 1988. That's my answer.
The question for Mary Slaney is, and always seems to be, one that conjures memories of her tragic Olympic moment. A controversial collision, a dream destroyed. And Zola Budd, a shattered girl, the target of an accusing finger cast by Decker.
I don't feel like I have any reason to apologize. I was wronged just like anyone else in the situation. If anyone should do any apologizing, I think it should be Wysocki for talking about things she doesn't have any information about.
Fellow athlete Ruth Wysocki, along with others, openly criticized Decker at the beginning of the indoor season. Well, Mary's response? A new world mark in the 2,000 meter.
I think the people that really respect you as a person will come out of it looking at you with even more admiration for the way you handle things. And I think people that don't are people that are looking to jump on the bandwagon to put you down. They're looking for something to take away from you. There are a lot of people in the world that don't like seeing people succeed, and they'd rather take things away from people than give them the opportunity to succeed.
In my eyes as a competitor, the talk of being America's sweetheart and the image portrayed in the press wasn't the image that I saw as a competitor, which again is my opinion, and you know, I guess that's just the way I feel.
I feel that people have a right to their own opinion, and I have a right to my own feelings. So if I am liberal enough to give people those rights without complaining about it, they should give me my rights without complaining about it.
Mary Slaney is anxious to leave the summer of '84 behind. On her mind is another attempt at Olympic gold, and with husband Richard's help, perhaps it will be '88.
it might take 4 years to get to Seoul, if I get to Seoul. But it's not the last thing in the world. It's not the only thing in the world. It's there, and I haven't been able to quite do it yet.
Mary Slaney, as she prepares for her 1500, 5'6" tall, all of 107 pounds. She owns the world indoor best at 4 minutes, 0.8 seconds. The rest of the field here, and it's a fine one, including Britt McRoberts in the middle of the track, the defending champion. Slaney is third from the right of your screen.
And on the inside, we see Diana Richburg. She's been the leading runner at 800 and 1,000 meters indoors this year, and she's the only one fearless enough, I think, to try to go out with Decker in this race.
And very quickly, Mary Decker moves in front of Diana Richburg and takes the lead. That's the way she likes to run. At this moment, they'll be running 9 laps for the 1500.
Something I don't think we should forget is that Decker puts all the pressure on herself. She openly predicted that she was going for the world record here, and she's going to make the pace herself. She doesn't have the benefit of a rabbit that we'll see in the mile that the men are going to run coming up.
She began the season determined to set 3 world records. In the 2000, which she did in L.A., the mile, which she missed, the record she missed at the Millrose, then she revealed that days earlier she had been mugged, and she still carries a bruise on her thigh from that. And now, as you mentioned, she's going for the world record here in the Meadowlands in the 1500.
And I think she sees these world record attempts as a way to at least let her forget about her misfortunes of last year. She certainly has had a star-crossed history with the Olympics. At age 14 in 1972, she was too young. In 76, she was injured. In 80, she's one of the leading runners in the world, but we boycotted the Olympics. And now, in 1984, she fell and missed her chance for gold.
It's still Slaney out in front with Richburg over her shoulder.
Mary was 62 at the quarter. Very fast pace. She wants to run 64 per 400 meters in order to run a 4-minute 1500 meters. That's right about her world record pace.
Back in third place is the great Britain Christina Boxer, who was 6th in the Olympic 1500. But the race right now is shaping up to be a 2-woman race between Slaney and Richburg.
This is where she has to do the work to keep the pace rolling along. She does have Richburg close enough so that she can at least hear. That might motivate her a little. We usually see Mary just running away from the field.
You got to remember, Richburg ran a race just 24 hours earlier in L.A., the 1,000, which she won. Mary Decker has had 2 weeks rest since Millrose.
Yep, she went to San Diego, went warm weather training, prepared specifically for this race. It's her last race of the indoor season. She wanted to make the most of it. Coming up on the half mile now, just a few more meters to go. Looks like you see her looking for the time herself. She's going to be right around 2:07 at the half mile. That's still below the pace we're looking for. She wanted to run 2:08 to be on world record pace, so she seems on course.
All right, now 4 laps to go in this 1500. Decker is usually forced to run alone in indoor competition because the only athletes who have been able to push her, or could push her, are the Eastern Europeans who do not like to run indoors. But Richburg is staying with her.
But Mary beat the Eastern Europeans at their own game in the 1983 World Championships, led from start to finish in 2 races there. And I really admire Mary. I have to say, we've been a little critical. A lot of people have criticized her for the way she lashed out. But if you remember when she was a teenager, back in the early 70s, she was cut off by a Russian in a relay race, ended up throwing her baton at the Russian after the race. We applauded Mary Decker then. Now we kind of criticize her for being a little quick to react to Zola Budd's incident at the games.
We saw that graphic there, 3 laps to go, and Mary Slaney appears to be in some sort of pain, Craig, as she comes around the corner here.
She has a history of tendon injuries in both legs, had operations.
She's pointing to her leg, right, she's pointing to her leg.
Oh, what a shame.
Slaney's still on the track, but she is in obvious pain, and she's pulled off the infield as Richburg and Christina Boxer go by, and she's appears to be holding her right calf. The question is whether it's a pull or
could be a calf muscle or the top of the tendon. The tendon attaches up there.
Boy, shades of the 3,000 in the Olympics, and she is angry.
Well, you can imagine the frustration pointing to this race all season, limiting her indoor schedule, and coming here. Only what more can happen to her, she must be asking.
Mary Slaney will not complete this race. Still, Diana Richburg is in the lead. Britt McRoberts has moved into second. Our John Dockery is down there, and we'll see if he can't give us an idea of what's going on with Mary Slaney. There's Richburg in the lead with McRoberts closing.
Less than a half a lap to go, and McRoberts has made up a lot of ground. Richburg, you can see her looking to see where Slaney is. their concentration is totally broken. Richburg will win the race. McRoberts finishing well, but
Diana Richburg does take the 1500 here with the defending champion Britt McRoberts finishing second. But the big question, let's go down now and see if we can't hear what's happening down there.
About 357
No, yeah. Still so much. Lightening up.
No, I had to...
What's it like here?
You heard her say 357 pace there. She was saying, Craig, that she was on world record pace before she stopped.
clearly had a shot at it, John. It would have been something. It was a very good record, and maybe she was pressing too hard.
There she's with her husband, Richard. Let's see if we can't get John Dockery in there to ask her exactly what happened and if she's okay. Now here's when she tied up.
Coming up to just about a little more than 3 laps to go. She came down the backstretch and it hit her all of a sudden. You know, she's been practicing on outdoor flat tracks. Maybe when she came on the board tracks with those steep turns, she twisted something, she stretched something a little too far.
Now here's an isolated camera view of Richard Slaney. You can watch his lips.
He told her to drop out. You know, she tried to keep running. You saw her almost half a lap limping around the track.
Still working on Mary Slaney on the infield, and it would appear that it's her right calf. John Dockery's with her now. John.
Mary, what happened?
I got a cramp or something in my calf. It's the back.
It's not a pull, it's a cramp.
I hope it's a cramp.
You were going so well.
I feel good too. I mean, I was right on pace.
You dealt with disappointment before, though, right?
I know, but
You wanted that world record. You wanted
so badly. And I couldn't go on. I could. It's just like. Did you? It's not the shin. It's the back.
So the final results with Mary Slaney out of the race, Richburg, McRoberts, and Boxer. And Mary Slaney, boy, plagued her entire career by leg injuries, missing the 1976 Olympics because of shooting pains in her legs. 1980 boycott, then in trouble in 1984. This is a picture we saw in the Olympics. Her husband carrying her off the track. Stay with us. We'll be back.
This is CBS.
Germany, Britain, Japan, Sweden, France, Italy. You have questioned America's ability to create a high-performance luxury automobile. Here's America's answer. The 1985 98 Oldsmobile. 98? Front-wheel drive. Multi-port fuel-injected engine. 4-wheel independent suspension. The 1985 98. Now, that's America's answer.
Every year, there comes a moment when that little voice inside you says,
Stanley, oh Stanley, it's time.
And when it's time to get away, Eastern Airlines can take you far away for far less than you might imagine to warm and sunny Florida, the Bahamas, and the Caribbean. So the next time your little voice tells you it's time to call Eastern.
Is it a time you listen to your little voice?
San Juan, $334 to $494, including airfare and hotel.
It's time.
Witness a medical miracle Monday.
It is truly one of auto racing's premier events. Next Sunday, NASCAR's top drivers will face a grueling test of driving skill at speeds approaching 200 miles per hour. CBS Sports will present live flag-to-flag coverage of the 27th Daytona 500. Then two familiar opponents who last season played yet another NBA Classic will meet again. The world champion Boston Celtics visit the Los Angeles Lakers next Sunday on CBS Sports.
John Tesh with Craig Masbach, ready for the showcase event here at the Meadowlands, the Mile. The World Indoor Best is owned by Eamon Coughlin, who set it back 2 years ago on this very same track, a track he designed. We asked him about that world record before this race.
Perhaps entering the race this year is totally different than when I entered in 1983 when I broke the world record, because there was more of a commitment then, there was more of a passion. And going into that event, I sort of felt that the three men who were the most important people in my running career and life were no longer here now to witness what I feel I should try and accomplish. Jumbo Elliott passed away, Jerry Farnan had passed away, my father had passed away, And when I went over the finish line and saw 3:49 on the scoreboard, I just felt absolutely tremendous. It was like all the work and effort that I put in over the months and years beforehand just really came back to me there.
Coughlin's track success continued in 1983. World champion in the 5,000 meters. Coughlin was flying high. His prayers for an Olympic gold seemed soon to be answered. But as the Olympics drew near, it became evident that stress fractures in Coughlin's legs would leave him only a spectator for the 1984 Olympics.
The day I pulled out of the Olympic Games back in Ireland, when I was driving home to my mother's house, I stopped at a traffic light and I saw a gentleman crossing the street on crutches, and there he was with only one leg. And I said to myself, and I'm worried about a stress fracture and not going to the Olympic Games. I bet you he'd like to have a stress fracture only. It was put everything in its proper perspective.
In some ways, the wooden track at the Meadowlands is Coughlin's track. He has run the world's fastest indoor mile on it, and he helped design it. So as the last section went in, it was no surprise Eamon was there to have a look.
Now, I was just looking under the track. What's happening is that support beam underneath, as it comes down along the track, it's moved over more in that direction.
And then with daughter Suzanne, it was time for a test run. And perhaps another victory on these world record boards.
I feel pretty good now coming into the race. I've had 6 races under my belt and all wins, and perhaps I have a good shot at breaking the record. And as I said, I will commit myself to it and go for it. But if I don't break it, I won't be disappointed because I already have it.
Eamon on the track now, and if he does break the record, it will not be done easily because Steve Scott, the American, the second fastest miler of all time, is here. Also, Sidney Marie, naturalized American citizen, the former world record holder at 1,500, is here. Set for the start. So Eamon Coughlin has returned to the scene of excellence where he set the world indoor best 2 years ago, right here on the track that he helped design.
He's been talking about a fast race all week, and I think a lot of the guys are looking for a fast race. Steve Scott and Sidney Marie, I spoke with them yesterday, and they told me they wanted a fast pace. They expected Todd Colas, who we see in the lead here, to take the early pace, probably through the half mile, and then Marcus O'Sullivan, who we see in second, was supposed to take it all the way to 3/4, all the way on a world record pace.
So Colas out early with O'Sullivan right behind him. Colas acting as the rabbit, if you will, the pace setter, to try and take them out as quickly as possible. Sidney Marie is now standing in 3rd place. And there's Eamon. He is in 4th at this point.
See Eamon tucked in on the inside, is running as little distance as possible. Sidney Marie in 3rd is running the best indoor season of his life. He's run 3:54 in the mile so far indoors. He usually doesn't like to run indoors, prefers to train for outdoors, but he missed the Olympics last year with an injury. He's out to prove something today also.
And Steve Scott, you can see him there at the back of the pack, running dead last, 28 years old. Again, the second fastest mile in history behind Sebastian Coe.
They're around 58 seconds at the quarter as they come up to 7 laps to go. And that's a good pace. It's not the kind of pace that's going to set the world record, though. You can see Colas now picking it up and O'Sullivan going with him. And you see this gap that's opening up. If Marie goes with O'Sullivan and he gets ahead of Coughlin, who we now see moving into 4th again, he could really put it to Coughlin towards the end of the race.
Now, coming up to 6 laps to go in this 10-lap race, the indoor mile, and again, the world indoor best is owned by Eamon Coughlin from Ireland.
See Colas getting away a little bit, which makes it harder for O'Sullivan, who's following, to keep his stride easy and relaxed. And now Eamon's bringing the rest of the guys back up towards Marie, towards the front of the race. And Coughlin's so good indoors. You can see him there now in 4th place. He's got that jaunty, confident stride, a low center of gravity. He just glides along the track. He's so much better than the other guys on the turn. He just sort of rolls around the turn. 1:56 at the half, John. It's a good pace. They're not look like they're threatening Eamon's record, though.
And now Marcus O'Sullivan is taking over, trying to pull Sidney Marie and Eamon Coughlin through.
You've got the 3 Villanova guys up front. They used to put a board track up outdoors in Villanova, and all winter they shovel snow off of it and run the outdoor boards. And you can see it now in those 3 guys. They all know how to run the boards. They lean that shoulder into the turn.
3.5 laps to go.
Coughlin's just so easy there behind, though. You know, what we're going to watch for is that one burst that Coughlin makes. He's not a better kicker than these guys, but he's got this burst of acceleration that just catapults him past these guys.
I think a lot of people thought that Steve Scott was done. Now Sidney Marie makes his move past O'Sullivan, so Marie has asserted himself, and Eamon Coughlin is going with him, and the crowd can sense it.
This is what Sidney told me yesterday. He said the only way I can beat Coughlin is if I go early and I take a little bit of the sting out of his finish.
We are not on world record pace as yet. Now we're coming up to 2 laps to go.
We've got a great mile going here, and this is a study in style, the contrast of styles. Marie's got that low arm carriage. He's got the low knee lift. Coughlin just got that jaunty, confident stride.
A lot of people thought Steve Scott would be more of a factor here. He is running dead last with Jim Spivey ahead of him. Now the race has all come down to the gun lap. 1 lap to go. Eamon Coughlin is right on Sidney Marie's shoulder.
I'll tell you, this is the race of Sidney Marie's life indoors. He's never been this tough. And Coughlin's got a lot of work to get by him.
Here it comes. Coughlin will have to make his move now. The last turn. The crowd is on their feet here at the Meadowlands. Sidney Marie comes in the last stretch. Here comes Eamon Coughlin. It's Marie and Coughlin. Here comes Coughlin at the line. It's going to be Eamon Coughlin.
Looks like in the low 352s, a great race for Coughlin. He almost left it too late, though, John. What a chance he took. Here's the replay, but you see why Eamon Coughlin's the chairman of the board, the world's greatest indoor miler of all time. Marie throws an elbow there, tries to keep Coughlin outside. Coughlin grits his teeth, uses the bank turn to his advantage, and just nips him at the tape.
Almost 15,000 people here at the Meadowlands, and they're still on their feet, and they're still waving and shouting for Eamon Coughlin. He didn't let them down today. The final results in the Vitalis Olympic Invitational Track Meet. In the men's mile, Eamon Coughlin, Sidney Marie, and Marcus O'Sullivan. For Craig Masback and John Dockery, I'm John Tesh. So long.
The Olympic Invitational you've just seen took place last night. By the way, this update on Mary Slaney's physical condition. She sustained a minor injury to her right calf. She does fully expect to compete in the upcoming outdoor season. And we'll take a look at some major upcoming events on CBS Sports Saturday and Sports Sunday in just a moment.
The 60s was the wild look. The 70s was the let it be look. The 80s is the neat look. And Vitalis lets it be your look to style or groom or hold. Vitalis makes it look better any way you wear your hair. Always good looking, natural, and very well groomed. For the neat look of the 80s, America's great classic, Vitalis has it all. So you can have it all.
I've got a bad cold and a lot of work. If I take Comtrex, won't I still need something for my runny nose?
All you need is Comtrex. That's all. Nothing else.
With Comtrex, do I still need something else for aches and pains?
Comtrex. That's all. Nothing else. None of these can do what Comtrex multi-symptom cold reliever does, because all by itself, Comtrex relieves a cold like theirs with nasal congestion, runny nose, aches, and coughs.
You know, I feel a lot better now.
Comtrex. That's all. Nothing else. From Bristol-Myers.
Sure, you're smiling now, because I'm going to buy insurance from Metropolitan. But where will you be if I need you? Can I trust an insurance representative with floppy ears? I know. Met promises to pay claims promptly. If this doesn't work, watch out. Ah! All right, Met. You made your point. Get Met. It pays.
America, the team really needs your support now.
Right now, let's take a sneak preview at what's in store in the weeks ahead here on CBS Sports Saturday and Sports Sunday.
February. The weather is cold, but the action is hot on CBS Sports Saturday and Sports Sunday.
Next Saturday, Kingston, New York plays host to live championship boxing as hometown hero Billy Costello puts his WBC World Super Lightweight crown on the line against former champion and now top contender Irish Leroy Haley.
Leroy Haley is in for a shock next Saturday on CBS Sports Saturday.
Also next Saturday, we'll take you to the slopes of Austria for the men's downhill. And Bill Johnson and Doug Lewis, America has two strong racers. And in 2 weeks, Belfast, Northern Ireland will be the site for a live showdown between local hero Barry McGuigan and tough Juan Laporte. Rounding out February, same-day coverage of the 1985 World Speed Skating Championship. March roars in like a lion here on CBS Sports Saturday and Sports Sunday. Mary Lou Retton will grace us with her return to action. She and her American gymnastic teammates face an international field at the American Cup. You'll see it live. And from Aspen, Colorado, America's downhill, the climax of the 1985 World Cup Tour. Racing at speeds of up to 90 miles an hour, this is one of the most demanding tests in all of sports. There is simply no room for a mistake. And the defending champion, America's own Bill Johnson. And yet another championship jewel, the 1985 World Figure Skating Championships. Katarina Witt defends her crown against America's new national champion, Tiffany. Judy Blumberg and Michael Sievert will have same-day coverage from Tokyo. So stay with the championship action. Stay with CBS Sports Saturday and Sports Sunday. A couple of exciting months coming up for you. We hope you'll join us. We have our sports news coming up next, right after these messages.
Where are you hurting the most, Jimmy?
Name it. Let's straighten up.
Yeah, we don't want to disappoint your fans.
No.
Hey, Jimmy, good run.
You had him right from the gate.
Your best deserves the best.
Two Bud Lights.
The less filling light beer with a first name in taste.
Hey, Jimmy!
Right.
Bud Light.
Gas doesn't figure. Technology's building spaceships, but can't build the compact truck I need. Like a long bed that can haul maybe 3/4 ton. A truck payload. With a frame like a semi, 5-speed, and extra power I don't pay extra for. Well, maybe someday.
Today, the Nissan Long Bed, now with the lowest factory-sponsored truck financing around, 8.8% on any new Nissan truck at your Datsun dealer. For a limited time, hurry.
Denerex Dandruff Shampoo difference.
This side tingles. Well, this other side here doesn't tingle at all.
Look what you used.
I'm very surprised. Denerex.
Each shampoo has one medicine for dandruff. Only Denerex adds extra anti-itch medicine many dermatologists recommend.
The tingle tells me that the medicine in Denerex is fighting my dandruff itch. No more Head and Shoulders. I'm going to switch to Denerex.
Denerex Shampoo or shampoo and conditioner fights dandruff and its itch with an extra relief medicine.
Tonight, the case that chilled the heart of a nation. The city held hostage by a faceless killer and struggling to save its children. The Atlanta child murders. Parental discretion is advised.
In Sarajevo today, they concluded the 1985 Women's World Speed Skating Championships, and it was a big day for the East Germans. Andrea Schinne set a new world record in the 5,000 meters. Earlier, she had won the 1,500 meters. Bonnie Blair of the United States, who won the bronze medal in yesterday's 500-meter race, finished 18th. And this year's overall champion is Andrea Schinne, who led the East German sweep. Bonnie Blair was the best of a disappointing American squad with their poor showing. The United States will lose 2 of their 4 places in next year's championships. Now let's check some scores. First of all, the NBA basketball game, which you saw here on CBS earlier today. The West upset the East 140-129. Ralph Sampson was the MVP in the championship game, in the All-Star game, I should say. He led the scoring with 24 points. Now in college basketball, number 15 ranked North Carolina beat Louisiana State 75-70. Let's look at some of the highlights as the Tar Heels traveled down to the Tigers' home court, LSU. LSU got ahead 5 points early in the second half. Number 35, Jerry Ice Reynolds, went in for the layup. The Tar Heels came right back. Number 25, Steve Hale hits. He had 14 points in the game. Down the stretch, the Tar Heels went inside. Brad Daugherty scored 2 of his 19 points and put it away for North Carolina as Dean Smith and Dale Brown say congratulations after that tough game. Wake Forest lost to number 10 ranked Georgia Tech. That score was 94-75. In men's tennis today, Mats Wilander, this is in the third round of the International Players Championships. Mats Wilander defeated Robert Green of Boston, 6-3, 4-6, and 6-4. Let's pick up the action now and watch as Wilander had a tough time in the International Players Championships. This was played in Delray Beach, Florida. This is Wilander in the bottom, at the bottom of your picture, and Green at the top. Matt serving for the match. Green tries to come in, and Wilander passes him, as he so often does. So Wilander defeats Green. That's third round action again. Also in the third round action, Mike Leach upset number 10 seeded Jimmy Arias 7-6, 6-3. And in the women's, Chris Everett Lloyd handled Kathy Jordan by the scores of 6-4 and 6-4. Down at Daytona today, they held the Clash of '85, an event you saw earlier here, perhaps on CBS. And keep your eye on number 44. That's Terry Labonte. He crosses the finish line ahead of Darrell Waldrop with a record average speed of over 195 miles an hour. Our Ned Jarrett asked Labonte about how his car ran.
You know, this Piedmont Airlines Chevrolet just ran awful good today. We had to start at the back, and, I felt like the car was awful competitive. I didn't realize it was going to be as competitive as it was, but we're just pleased to be here.
And, of course, next Sunday, here on CBS, you'll see live flag-to-flag coverage of the Daytona 500. That's it for this edition of CBS Sports Sunday. For all of us here, this is Pat Summerall saying have a good day.
The executive producer of CBS Sports Sunday is Terry O'Neill. Coordinating producer, George Ferris. Coordinating director, Joe Assetti. U.S. Olympic Invitational Track and Field Champs, produced by John Paratzis. Directed by Duke Strutt. Busch Clash, produced by Bob Stenner. Directed by Bob Fishman. Women's World Speed Skating Championships, produced by Ed Gorin. World Figure Skating Championships preview, produced by Dave Michaels. John Madden's Journeys, produced by Mike Arnold. Next Saturday on CBS Sports, NCAA regional action begins at 2 Eastern Time. LSU takes on Syracuse. Louisville visits SMU. On CBS Sports Saturday Live, championship boxing as unbeaten Billy Costello is challenged by Irish Leroy Haley. Also from Austria, coverage of the World Cup men's downhill. And John Madden visits with Ray Boom Boom Mancini. CBS Sports Sunday has been sponsored by Bud Light. The light beer with a taste that's satisfying but never filling. Vitalis, America's classic line of men's hair color products. And by Nissan. We're changing our name from Datsun to Nissan. Known for high-quality cars and trucks for 50 years, Datsun is now Nissan. Sports Sunday is a presentation of CBS Sports.
United flies more people to Hawaii than any other airline. Nobody knows Hawaii like United. Let the friendly skies bring Hawaii alive.
Be sure to watch another fascinating edition of 60 Minutes, the popular television news magazine. Because every Monday, people talk about what was on 60 Minutes Sunday. Don't be left out. 3 more stories this week they'll be talking about next week. 60 Minutes this evening on CBS.
When you rent one way from most car rental companies, there are strings attached, like the drop-off charge at the end of the line, the one you pay to help get their car back. At National, there are no strings or mileage charges because we have a whole fleet of cars available for one-way rentals, and they're just $10 a day more than our regular low daily rates. So the choice is yours. Rent one way or the other. National Car Rental, the way to go one way.
Renault introduces 8.5 in 85, America's lowest factory financing. That's 8.5% on Renault Alliance with sedan comfort for 5. 8.5% on Renault Encore, built in America with European design. And 8.5% on Alliance Convertible, America's lowest price convertible. 8.5 in 85, America's lowest factory financing.
Your AMC Jeep Renault dealers, the right guys.
Julie Andrews, Monday at 5.